Okay, so still on body work. Um, for me personally, the aim of all body work is to end up feeling like I live in my body. I mean, that statement might feel strange to a lot of people, but I guess if you have a history of trauma or complex trauma, most people with trauma would, at certain point, feel overwhelmed and feel like they're not in their body. Um, for other people who haven't experienced this might just sound all strange. Um, because factually I am in my body, but I just don't feel it. I feel spaced out or overwhelmed. So for me, the body is the last frontier no matter what I do in terms of working in emotions or thoughts. For me, it's very clear now that trauma lives in the body, and to be embodied and feel safe in my body and hopefully clear-headed. That's the aim. However, so recently, about a couple of months ago, I noticed, I ended up taking to the bed a lot, because I find the bed very soothing. I'm in Lebanon, there's what's going on in Gaza, the genocide, and I'm trying to do this work. And after a while, I ended up with back problems. I mean, that's what happens when you go to bed a lot. I'm sitting there, I'm lying there and I'm enjoying it, and it's this way of spacing out. But when I started to have back problems, it's like, shit, man, I need to do something about it. And I've put on weight the last few years. So, the guy I go to in Ireland, Amatsu, David, he's been telling me for 25 years, 20 years, I guess, I don't know. But he was like, walking sorts everything out. So I committed to walking every day, at least an hour, to loosen myself up. Now, I don't enjoy walking. For a lot of people, it clears their head. Not for me. I get overwhelmed. Are there any times when I've enjoyed walking? Generally, no. I enjoy, if I enjoy any sports, it's basketball, as long as it's not a competitive. So the point is that I've committed to walking, and I've been doing it intermittently, at least an hour to an hour and a half for the past 6 weeks. And while walking, I feel like I'm pushing a bag of vegetables, and now, now I'm back in Lebanon, and it's very difficult to walk. I mean, it's very congested, cars-wise. It's hot. So I have a stationary bike, and I use my iPad to watch programs. So I'm not in my body that way. I'm distracting myself with stuff that I'm enjoying. And the point is, I'm trying to get myself into a healthier state, lose weight, and make sure that my back is loosened. So far, I'm not enjoying it greatly, but it doesn't feel horrible either. I'm very committed to it, and I am losing weight. But the point is, it showed me, most of the time I take an approach where I'm trying to bring consciousness in, trying to integrate. But this one is not one of those. This one is, I'm doing all the right things, and hopefully, eventually, when I lose some more weight, and I end up feeling loose, and the circumstances around me ease up a bit, because right now in Lebanon we're living under a situation: are we going to get bombed more or not? So we're living under threat, so there's only so much that I can expect from myself in terms of calming down or enjoying being in the body, or even in this world, with all of these bombs, man, and knowing what's going on in Gaza. It just messes up my head, messes up my relationship to the world, wakes up a lot of the old stuff about questioning humanity, how comfortable I feel in this planet and all of this stuff. But I just let them pass. You know, I don't identify with them too much. At this stage, you know, these big questions, I used to struggle with them a lot, but I don't, you know, I just notice them, they're there, and I kind of feel it's natural to have these questions or these issues come up or these comforts. So I'm really treating myself, the body, as a mammal's body, you know, whether it's, I see myself as a monkey or whatever, but mammals need safety, and I've taken to the bed. Overall, it's not a good idea. So I'm exercising. I'm happy that I can do it, because there were times where it was too much. It's not like in the last year I didn't know that taking to the bed is overall not a great idea. But doing this work, you know, kind of opens me up. You know, when I was doing the film, I stopped doing Muay Thai. I stopped a lot of stuff, including music lessons, in order to have more energy, because although I believe in doing it, it's also depleting. It also brings out a lot of stuff. So today, that's my approach, is I'm doing what I can, and I seem to be able to do a bit, and it seems to be going well. I don't feel I am in my body, but I'm going towards the right direction, you know. So that's the point I wanted to bring. Make sure that although the aim is to be in my body and to be clear, when it's not possible, do the second best thing that is available to me. Yeah. Another area, well, I'm kind of like trying to remember all the stuff that I did over the last 40 years and think of them in different areas. One area that I think about is just soothing my body. You know, like a mom or a parent soothes a child, you know, so soothing through touch. You know, there were times when, I mean, I am not doing a lot of that these days. Mainly because I don't remember, mainly because I'm too chaotic to remember this. And also in times of, you know, there's a point I try to keep on making, that would a reasonable amount of, a manageable amount of stress, some approaches are more appropriate and more possible. And when it gets to a certain amount of stress and there's triggers, and then I'm dissociated, or I'm very chaotic, or very head foggy, and it doesn't even cross my mind to do them. And even when it does, when I try to do them, sometimes it feels like, you know, I've explained it in another video, that sometimes if the body feels like it's under threat and I'm trying to calm it down, it will interpret the calming down as like there's an animal in the distance, it's coming, it's a threat, and I'm trying to calm it down, and that's counterintuitive with what it's needed. So that feels like I am trapping myself when I should be ready to be moving, ready to escape, you know. So I get a sense of that. So sometimes, you know, again, the main point is some of these approaches are possible when there is already a certain amount of calmness. So soothing doesn't work for me when I'm very tense, you know. But out of sharing with you, soothing can be any, you know, like, to me, the ideal situation is to remind myself, well, if I was a kid and I had an ideal parent, how would they soothe me? It's through touch, through comfort, you know. So over the years, some of the things I've done is just get into in the fetal position in bed, you know, feel like a child in the womb. Sometimes that feels very comforting, and sometimes that digs up mom issues and shit like that, you know. And it's like, sometimes it can feel yucky, or what the fuck, man, we're trying to go back to the womb and do, it's just, there is an intellectual head sometimes thinking about this and not liking what I'm trying to do, even though another part of the head knows, look, this is needed, dude, So just touching my own skin, um, just enjoying the breath, just enjoying the contact between the skin against the bed sheets. And I think I talked about it as well somewhere else, which is I like the feeling of a cover on me, even when it's hot. So if it's very hot, not a duvet, but still I enjoy the feeling of something on me. On a primal level, it feels like a protection. Temperature, so all of this is about sensation. I like warm showers. Whenever a friend of mine talks about, that they take cold showers, even just the idea of a cold shower gets me all like, that's like the end of the world sometimes, a feeling of overwhelm. So to be conscious of just body sensations and what comforts the senses, and that could be anything from not just how I touch myself, but also what am I wearing, like how do certain materials feel against the body. It can involve other senses as well, like colors, smells, Again, the area of smell is not something, some people use aromatherapy to calm themselves. I got into that over the years, but then I'd forget about it. But some people are big into that, and that's something that is out there. I actually remember those lollipops, sugar shops, I don't know, I forgot what they call it, sugar shops? Anyway, there's one which is like pink. And I not just enjoyed the taste of it, it's like full of fucked up chemicals, but the smell of it, Having said all of this, like smells can be a trigger in a messed up way too, but they can be used in a soothing way as well. So overall, sometimes, just specifically to this area that I'm talking about, I'll get into the mentality of if I was a kid and I had an ideal parent, how would they soothe me? And I would try to give that to myself. Another area is not necessarily about soothing. It's about trying to be aware of body sensation. It's sensations. It's a specific approach to working with the body. And at this stage, there are so many approaches out there, and so many of them, might have different names, but may have the same principles. At the time I was introduced to this, maybe 25 years ago, maybe, at the time I did a workshop called Hakomi, Hakomi. But since then, there are so many approaches. But anyway, look, the main principle, I don't know whether, in the masters in counseling psychology, you get introduced to getting in contact with your emotions. But this is different. This is not about being aware of emotions. This is about trying to tap into how does my body feel to me in terms of sensations. For example, does it feel, if you pick a place in your body, like right now I can pick the contact between my feet on the floor, so I'm conscious of the contact between the sole of my feet and the Crocs that I'm wearing. So there's a few things going on, and the more I try to focus on it, the more it opens up. the more I started being conscious, oh, the right leg feels very different from the left leg. The right leg feels that it has more sensations. Okay, so what do the sensations feel like? I don't know. It's hard to know because I feel a muscular tensions, inside the foot. So now I'm moving from sensations of the contact to sensations inside the foot. And one of the things we were encouraged to do is trying to name them. And that, I don't know whether it has to do with trying to get different parts of the brain in contact with other parts, and try to get a sense of integration. But one of the principles is that we can disconnect from sensing our body altogether, and the invitation is to go back and start making contact and start, I think the word is differentiation, to differentiate between sensations. And the more you differentiate, the more you're making connections, the more you're being embodied. Now, in my case, I don't have anything, there's a lot of literature out there about this kind of work being an approach for somebody who's got some severe problems with certain areas. I mean, Feldenkrais, forgot how they, you can Google it, Feldenkrais. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there about the main principle is trying, if you have a tension in a huge area in your back, for example, is the more you get into it, the more you connect, the more you're trying to get into the senses, the more you differentiate between different types of sensations. And I don't know what the science is behind it, how does the neurology work in it, but the way I think about it and what it reminds me of is there are developmental stages for babies. Babies can go from being very happy to be very, very upset, or, and they can shift between these emotions. And as we grow, we start to differentiate. Again, that's the word, differentiate, meaning that it isn't just happy, sad. These emotions start to take subtle shades to it. In the same way that if you think of color, you can think of the primary colors, the 7 colors. But if you start mixing colors, then the possibilities are endless. It's like if you want to have your apartment painted, you can go to a place where they sell you the paint, and they can show, well, what paint would you like? And they'll show you a catalog with huge amounts of ranges of different type of colors. So that's the idea. The idea is to move from very crude and basic emotions and basic sensations to differentiating subtleties. So it's not about happy, sad. As we grow, as we open to life, emotions started to become very complex, and thoughts come into it, and it's a whole interaction. But that's part of trying to tap into exploring what's going on. And what's really important about this approach for me is that it's not analytical. I'm not trying to figure things out intellectually. I'm not analyzing. I'm dropping into my body and trying to get us explore how do things feel, and just let things rise. I found this very helpful over the years, but a word of caution, this type of work, you're opening up really. So all sorts of stuff can open up. So initially doing this kind of work can be, can wake up a whole world internally, and it can overwhelm in the beginning. Part of that workshop that we did, 25 years ago is, it's slow work. And in the beginning was like, man, this is too slow. Just tell me, how does this work? And they were like, no, 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 no. This is not an intellectual thing. So easing softly into it, doing some of this work, see how it feels, and then slowly, gently coming back out of it. Again, I'm just sharing with you what I tried over the years. And I keep on emphasizing that this work in general is very messy. So learning a new approach, for some, it could end up being an overwhelming experience. Like, I don't want to have to do anything. I'm never doing this kind of shit again. So it's important that it's in a supportive environment. Overall, I'm trying to be cautious of not recommending this stuff, just sharing what it's like for me, rather than selling you an approach or encourage you, because overall, anything you try, if you have a history of complex trauma, can be unsettling in the beginning, can be unsettling later on, so while I have found this very useful, like right now, I'm conscious of attention on the right side of my back. Wow, that was okay. I actually managed to shift it. Okay, so yes, everything I'm sharing with you is things I've tried over, the last God knows how long, this one at least 25 years, so some of it, the benefits of some of this now is like, wow. And I just managed to, I'm surprised this one just shifted so quickly, Anyway, so this is, I don't have a name for this area, but you can Google it, and there's so many different approaches out there, and it's mainly about getting in touch with sensations. Yeah, that's probably enough for now.